You got to see this. Artificial intelligence, driverless cars in 4 years or 5 years, and Elon Musk is saying we got to go to Mars because this means the world is over as we know it. Check it out. I don't know if you caught the program. We had the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, gave his speech at the APAC. It was an awesome speech. You can see it at vfntv.com. You can go to our YouTube channel and see it. But when he was talking, he said something very specifically about technology, about a company named Mobileye and Intel. And it alerted me, what's going on? Because this company called Mobileye is going to be running all these companies that run driverless cars. First, let's go back to the APAC speech where we hear Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu talk specifically about the technologies coming out of Israel, which is a lot of technology, but also listen to him talk about Mobileye, which is a company located right by him, and what the company Intel did. Take a look.
In this battle between modernity and medievalism, more and more countries in the region and outside the region, around the world, realize that Israel is on their side. Where terrorism threatens innocent people, Israel is there, with unmatched intelligence and counterterrorism capabilities. When people are suffering from hunger and thirst, as in Africa, Israel is there, with technologies that help feed the world's hungry and literally create water out of thin air. Where hackers threaten the critical networks of our lives, our banks, our transportation, and power plants, Israel is there with incredible cyber capabilities to help protect all of us. Where natural disasters strike around the world, Israel is there too, with rescue and medical services second to none. I'm proud of the unique contribution Israel is making to the world, a contribution to humanity that vastly exceeds our size. I want to give you an example of that. Last week, Intel Corporation bought an Israeli company, Mobileye. This is a company that produces driverless car technologies, the technology of the future. Now, Intel not only paid this Israeli company $15 billion, it also did something else. It gave them the keys. It said, you, Mobileye, in Israel, in Jerusalem, not far from my office, you manage and direct all our driverless car companies around the world. Because you see, as this example shows, and as you can see from many, many, many other cases, Israel is fast becoming a global technological power. And we're very, very proud of this.
So just think about this. That's right. He's saying driverless cars. Mobileye has been working for years now to be able to create driverless cars. And you think about them thinking, driverless cars. And you look at people driving down the road today, they're not paying a lot of attention today. They're looking at their phones, they're looking at their fancy, interior, does all this digital stuff in their cars. And it's like, but I just can't imagine Bubba going down a dirt road and some computer, driving him. But that's actually what they're doing. Intel gave them that $15 billion to buy their company, Mobileye, and said, listen, you run the company. You continue to run the company. As a matter of fact, we want you to run all of our companies. Intel said this. And Intel, by the way, if you don't know it, they are probably a part of every single computer that's not an Apple computer in the world, because they have an Intel processor right there running all this data in computers and that type of stuff. And they're saying, as a matter of fact, this guy right here, you're going to have a perfect view of what it looks like in a driverless car, because you're going to be in that car. And we're going to make this available to you also. You can see it 3D inside of the VFN Torch. You're going to be able to go there and look around and kind of just look all the different directions, but you'll see it right now. And it's just amazing. For 2 years, the car has been driving him to work in Israel, and he's never had to put his hand on the wheel. The car's doing all the work. As a matter of fact, let's look and see what a driverless car looks like today. Let's go there. This is Mobileye, the company that Intel just purchased for $15 billion, and said, we want you to run all the companies that we have for driverless technology. Take a look.
If there is something worth experiencing, this is it. An autonomous vehicle which drives us from A to B. This car has driven me for the past 2 years now And as you can see, I have nothing to do with driving. Our technology allows for a 360-degree analysis of the surroundings. The sensors around the vehicle compose the full driving scene. The vehicles behind us, in front of us, traffic signs, pedestrians, everything.
Oh, hello, Ziv. Oh, very nice. This is the car, huh? Very nice. Very beautiful car.
Hi,
Very
guys.
nice. Hi, Ziv.
Welcome.
How are you?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So, creative team. Any ideas how to make this clip more catchy?
Yeah, well, we think we should make it very high-tech.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the sensors.
We should introduce your amazing REM system, the mapping technology based on crowdsourcing. How you determine the free space, the drivable path, the driving policy. All of this state-of-the-art technology that's already in place.
Interesting. But maybe it's too complicated. I want it to be more about the outcomes of the autonomous revolution, like shared mobility, because it's going to make transportation much more efficient and much cheaper.
I've got an idea for that. Think of a gangster movie. Imagine two gangsters loading a large package into the trunk of a car.
To the river.
Destination confirmed.
The car drives by itself to another location with two other gangsters who then put their own package into the trunk. And the car drives by itself from job to job, just like that. And boom, what do you get? Shared autonomous mobility.
I'm not sure our legal department would approve it.
Excuse me, sir, but I think we should give a tour of the future. We are standing in an intersection without any traffic lights. And all the cars are so sophisticated that they cross the intersection without ever stopping. Just like in India. But with almost zero car accidents.
Well, these ideas aren't so bad. But I think the future is more about something else. It's about taking the driver out of driving so they can have more free time to do what's important, spending time with family and friends. The autonomous revolution has already begun.
The autonomous revolution has already begun. For 2 years, that car's been driving him to work. 2 years. And we have more information available if you're interested in the technical part of that at vfntv.com. But this is happening right now. And the way that this can happen is because they're gathering all this data, all this crowdsourcing, everything you do, everything you say, everything you post, everywhere you're driving your car. These satellites that are crossing the earth, they're gathering all that data and putting it in one place in the car. They're giving the car that kind of knowledge base, and it's able to stay on the road. This is just crazy days. As a matter of fact, the CEO, his name is Z Aviram, he says specifically that this is the future. As a matter of fact, listen, he just finished speaking, explaining how it all works, and this is what we're going to make available to you via vfntv.com. But listen to what Z says, the CEO of Mobileye says about it.
So as you can see, the autonomous vehicle is not something futuristic. It is something that will happen very soon in our lifetime.
Very soon in our lifetime. As a matter of fact, Ford, think about this. This is what Business Insider says there's 19 companies that are racing to build the self-driving car in the next 5 years. And Ford Motor Company says Ford is aiming to have its fully autonomous car ready in 4 to 5 years. What does this mean? How do we respond to it? What's all this data they're gathering? is this right? Is this the way it's going? Will we even need cars in the future and buy our own cars? Right now on VFN TV, we're going to talk about it. First, go to this break and we'll talk about every aspect of that. Make sure you join us after the break. This is amazing, isn't it, John, when you're talking about driverless, autonomous cars?
It's awesome. You know, you think
Yeah.
about it, and who doesn't like technology? Who doesn't
Right.
like the fact that you can actually be in a vehicle
Right.
and you don't have to drive it? It just takes you there.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you really got to start thinking about, what does this really mean? You know, like,
Right.
how do we get there?
So, you think about that the only reason these kind of cars can do what they're doing is because of all the data they're gathering.
Yeah.
They're gathering all this data on
Us.
everybody, everything
Yeah.
that you're doing, and they're putting it in one source. We had the Watson computer, we talked about that on a previous program, the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
You got to see that. If you haven't seen that program, you got to see that program, the Internet of Things, because it explains, that's where they're going with this thing. I mean, not only your car, but your toaster,
Yeah.
your refrigerator, and all this kind of stuff. And so you're looking at here that they're just getting all this knowledge together, just tons of knowledge, right?
The average consumer has no idea. They just know that when they click a button on their phone to get the internet, they have an app, they have all these different things that are connected to the internet, but they don't know that there's serious technology that's gathering
Right.
all their information 24 hours a day,
Right.
and they're sharing it, and it's only going to increase.
What you look at, how long you look at it, when did you turn off of it?
Who'd you shared it with?
Who'd you shared it with? How many times? I mean, all this different stuff. That's the reason why ads that come
Yeah.
up that it's like, how does this company know that I'm looking for, bananas or something?
In many
you know?
cases, they know the person better than the person knows themselves. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and what they're doing is they're using that data to understand you, and they call it marketing. But it's
Yeah.
all going to be, John, in the very end, it's all about a business beast economy, really.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it boils down to how you're going to do business. That's in Revelation chapter 12 when he says that, nobody can buy or sell without this particular identification number.
I think it's 13.
It requires wisdom, 13. And so then it's like, we're working our way to this. This is it.
Oh, yeah.
This is digital information, but driverless cars. I mean, can you imagine you just tell your car to go pick up the groceries from your local Walmart or something, and it goes right there because you
Or
ordered
pick
them?
up the pizza. I mean, come on.
Or pick up a pizza.
Yeah.
Right. So the knowledge, it takes knowledge. It doesn't just, somebody doesn't program in and say, drive down the street. They're gathering all this knowledge. This knowledge is coming together, just tons and tons of knowledge. And with that, they're able to program. And so basically the car system, the computer system can kind of just weigh all these thoughts out, but not thought, but weigh out these logarithms in its memory. And it determines the path it's going to go based off Google Maps, based off their called cloud sourcing.
Yeah.
Because everybody's information is going up in the cloud. Cloud meaning some technical device somewhere in some cave that's gathering this information. It's not a cloud up, it's actually probably a cloud in a cave. But it makes me think of Daniel. Daniel prophesied what it would be like in the last days. God showed him visions about what it's going to be like, and he wrote it down. It makes me think about Daniel 12:4, because it talks specifically about this. When he gave them back then, what it's going to be like in the end times. He said, now I want you to shut this up. He says, shut up these words and seal this book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, which is back and forth with anxiety. So people are just going to be like, just stressing over everything. I've never seen so many anxious people that you see today. And he says, and knowledge shall increase.
Well, increase, it's definitely doing. The thing about it, when I think about this and I look at this mobile eye, is the fact that who doesn't like technology? I mean, we have washing machines today. We're not washing our own cars.
Right.
The fact that our clothes, we have cars and not horses.
Right.
But it comes to a point where we're exchanging our freedoms.
Right.
And then we have the whole question of morality. I mean, how far
Well, actually,
is
we're going to be
enough?
talking about that a little bit, because even these guys with AI, they're actually, one of the top topics they're going to be talking about is morality. And they're the ones that, is part of this whole knowledge base. But the thing about it is that, at what point do you say you don't want technology? Because they washed clothes on a rock.
Right.
And we
And can you opt out of it? I mean, right now people say, I don't want to get on the internet.
Yeah, but
well, right.
when you opt out of it, and you pick the phone up, so I'm not going to enter my information in this computer.
Right.
But you call the person and you say the company, and you say, listen, you tell them something, and they enter that.
Of course.
Into your name under
Yeah.
the computer, and it gathers it.
So you don't have a choice. You are going to adopt into this technology.
Well, I think the thing is that everybody's trying to live instead of trying to lay down their life for God.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to, because people are trying to save their cookies and keep
Right.
their stuff, and it's like, we're called to lay down our life. So once you once you're willing to go to the furnace for what you believe, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, once you are willing to lay down your life for others, you're not constantly worried about all that stuff. You're not worried about it. You're just trying to do what God's told you to do in this particular generation. This is definitely the digital divide that we're in. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I think about this, even Elon Musk, we're headed, Elon Musk is the one that invented, PayPal along with some other people that people use today. He sold that company. He owns Tesla with this battery operated car, very intelligent man. But this is what he said about all this data and this technology. This is where he's quoted at an HBO event. It says, we're headed towards either super intelligence or civilization ending.
Wow.
This is huge. This is the one who invented this kind of encryptic type stuff.
This is the one who wants to go to Mars and colonize Mars.
Well, that's the reason why he wants to go to Mars, John. He said that the only way that we're going to be able to survive what's about to happen on the face of the earth in the next 40 years is to whoever's on Mars will survive it, but whoever on Earth won't survive it.
That's amazing. Just think about that. In 5 years, Ford is talking about already building a car.
Which means it has to have all that data and it has to be there.
And when you talk about the Internet of Things, everything's connected. I mean, technology is exponentially growing. So 5 years, they could probably do it in less time.
Well, and so we're looking at, this is sort of like saying, okay, the plane's going to crash.
Yeah.
So that's over with. Let's just move on. Take your head, put it between your knees, right? It's just on the plane.
Yeah.
And brace yourself for impact. And that's all you can do at this point. And you don't want to brace yourself for impact by hiding out somewhere. You want to say, how can I share the gospel? How can I share the love of God? How can I be relevant, even if it's for an hour? What we're able to do now through technology, we're reaching over 203 countries in our first month of our launch of our brand new YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We're reaching, of course, over 100 countries through VFN television and the standard way of broadcasting and streaming, all those other ways as well. And it's like, it's a day that you can reach the world, and people are okay with that. And we'll be talking in a future program about this younger generations is receiving the gospel that way. But it also means the more people you're reaching, the more chance you have for persecution that's taking place. And so they're coming together, John. Like all these guys, like what do they say right here? They said Google's coming together with Facebook and all these digital leaders.
And Bill Gates and Stephen Hawking and somebody else who are supposed to be all getting together and talking about this.
Yeah, Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, they're all teaming up and they're in this partnership on AI, and they're concerned about what they're going to protect us and them from this.
And you're talking AI is artificial intelligence.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. And the first thing that's on their topic is, this was a quote, moral issues.
Say that they're concerned about moral issues?
Moral issues. When we get back from this break, we're going to talk more about this. We're talking about driverless cars, this increase of technology, what do we do with that? How God even spoke about this, and think about the day of Daniel. It's just such a, there's no way that he knew, other than what God was revealing to him, this day would come. But
God knew.
Yeah, they say that during one day, this is like a couple years ago, that enough information passes through our lives in one day that our great-great-grandfathers had an entire lifetime.
That's amazing.
Think about that.
That's amazing.
Which means you got to know. I think the enemy of good is a whole bunch of okay.
Yeah.
Or the enemy of great is a whole bunch of good. You got all this stuff coming at you. You got to pay attention. What you know about God is the most important thing about you, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're looking at all this information. We're being bombarded by all this data. And a lot of people think they know something because they have access to information. And if we
didn't have Google, we'd be in trouble. I'm telling you right now.
So many. They really don't know this. I remember this particular Christian comedian, I guess he's a Christian comedian, he was saying that his audience is no longer 35 and below because they can't understand. And that's what he was saying.
Right.
Because what they're being taught is not how to actually work their way through a problem.
It's called critical thinking.
Critical thinking. And so he said they didn't get his jokes. I don't think that's necessarily true, but a lot of schools are not teaching critical thinking, that type of thing. And so Elon Musk, the very one, he's saying that we're headed to potentially, super intelligence or the end of civilization. And that's why he's actually going to Mars. And that's why him and the president, basically, they just signed a deal we had on our program. They're going to Mars, and in 2030, they're planning on being there. The idea is in 40 years from now, that he's believing that America, the world as we know it, will be over because of an artificial intelligence.
It's amazing where we're even headed as a world, but of course in our country, what's unique to us is we have a constitution, but we're losing all privacy completely.
Right, which is a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Plus we're losing our freedoms.
Right.
Because the more you give up, the more technology
the more you share, the less freedom you have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then you have the ethical dilemmas. So these are very serious
concerns. Where they are. They're actually coming together. These companies right here, which is Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, and others are teaming up this partnership about AI, artificial intelligence, and their concern is the moral factor to this. And so they said their biggest top concern out of 20, I believe it is, the top one is morals. Because how do you morally do this? But the problem is, John, when someone denies God, there are no morals.
There are no morals, right?
Morals come from good or bad. How did God create things? And so where there's no morals, where there's no God, there's no morals. Who's the one to say that this is immoral or this is moral, this is right or this is wrong? I mean, where does that come from?
Yeah.
And the guy who normally is like this that they're talking about, they say this is good. And they say this is bad. So they just start cranking out some ideas.
The person who's pushing the buttons behind the screen.
They're telling you what's good. And we're seeing that take place right now. We talked to, some of the presidential candidates, one of them said, we need to change some fundamental beliefs. We need to do these different things. Well, so Elon Musk, who's meeting, and he's deeply concerned about what's taking place. He's so concerned that he's putting, $1 billion, I believe, into it. But he's talking about morals first, and look what he said. Look what Elon Musk said right here when he's talking about the Burning Man. The Burning Man is an event that they go out in the wilderness, and you see a man right there
in the desert, right?
And they basically just worship this Burning Man, and he said that he and his family go out there once a year, at least tried to go out there, and they meet out there. Some good ideas came. As a matter of fact, his son. Solar business came to him reportedly out there, and he gave it to his cousin. And so the digital data gathering, folks, is Silicon Valley. That's where all the data is being gathered. And so he said, this is what Elon Musk said, the one who's worried about, how to do this, morals, they're meeting on morals. He says Burning Man is Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley is Burning Man. In other words, they're one and the same.
They're one and the same.
The very first logo for Google, the very first little sketch was the Burning Man.
Yeah.
And so, he's saying what is. And he's saying, that's where the party is, that's where the stuff is, this is what's going on. We have all the details where you can find that. But, Elon Musk seems like a really interesting guy. Seems like, I like his drive and his push and that type of thing. And he's bringing some great technology. But, but if you deny God, if you deny God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if you deny God, where's the morals in this? But he's so concerned about it. He's thinking in 40 years, reports are, that the world will be over as we know it.
Think about what these CEOs actually know. These are the guys that are at the complete forefront of technology.
Right.
And then you have the CEO, or the founder, rather, of Facebook, who's doing a 50-state tour.
Right.
Just causes you to wonder, absolute knowledge, absolute power, where's this?
Remember our program, we had the young man in from Silicon Valley, and he was talking about they're programming all these phones to cause people to stay with them all the time. And he said, it's just not right, like 90 people controlling the behavior of billions of people on the face of the earth. And that's what they're doing. Small amount of people is controlling behaviors, and this one company that Intel just bought called Mobileye is going to be running all the companies for all the mobile driverless cars.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and Intel's important because Intel's what's running your computer pretty much, unless it's a Mac right there. And I think about this, this is what Glenn Beck said. He said, Elon Musk, Stephen Hawking, and Bill Gates are all warning about the dangers of artificial intelligence and are trying to figure out ways to ensure the survival of the human race.
That's amazing.
These are the ones, this is Bill Gates, who, Microsoft, right?
World's most wealthiest person in the world, right?
Stephen Hawking, and then Elon Musk. And so they're concerned about it. As a matter of fact, you got to hear Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck was on his program. He's talking very specifically about this, and it just really will inform you about their concern about where we're going. Yeah, it's cool to have a driverless car, but what are the what are the ramifications of all this? What do we do? How do we best respond to it? But first, listen to Glenn Beck talk about that.
I want you to hear a story that is on Elon Musk and his billion-dollar crusade to stop the AI apocalypse. That's the headline. It starts with a story that I gave you yesterday in hour number 1 of this broadcast. And it's Elon Musk, and it's Demi, what's his name? Hassabis. And Demi and Elon are having lunch at SpaceX. And Elon says, I'm working on, this is the most important project for all of humanity right now, his trip to Mars. Pat doesn't even think that trip to Mars is going to happen. Mm-mm. It will. I'm telling you now, we will colonize Mars, and it won't be done by a government. It will be done by Elon Musk, and here's why. Demi says, no, you're not working on the most important project. I am. Now, he's in charge of DeepMind. DeepMind is the Google project that is gobbling up everybody who's working on AI, artificial superintelligence. And they are racing, Google and DeepMind are racing to artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is going to be fantastic. We will, through artificial intelligence, we're going to be able to figure out cures to cancer. It's so far beyond any supercomputer. It will be able to learn itself. You won't have to program. You won't have to build it. It will build itself. It will teach itself. It's true artificial intelligence. It is living intelligence. And it will be so far, we will look like mice to this intelligence. He said, Demi said, well, no. I'm working on the most important project for humankind. I'm working on artificial superintelligence. And that's when Elon Musk said, no, the reason why I'm going to Mars is to make sure there's a human outpost because you're going to get us all killed. Now, as crazy as that sounds, these conversations are happening. And they're happening a lot in Silicon Valley with some of the smartest people out there. People who agree with Elon Musk that this could be the end of all humanity within the next 40 years are Bill Gates and Stephen Hawking and a long list of others, but those are pretty prominent guys.
Wow, is that powerful or what? That is so powerful. And so we are hearing it. He says, this is what God says about these days. He said, these things are going to happen, but it's going to take wisdom. And so that's why you got to stay tuned to VFN TV, because we're going to talk about this. We're going to hear what God's saying and that how do we respond to this, and how do we make the most of our vapor of time on this earth to be able to tell people about the awesomeness. Because a lot of people are worshiping technology, and they say they're not, but they spend all their time, all their money, and they lay down everything for technology. Yeah. So that's worship, by the way. And so, but we're telling them about the real authentic reality of God who created everything, and he knows all things at the same time.
He's better than any technology you can put your hands on, you know?
Yeah, he is. And so we're about to go to break. When we get back from the break, we're going to drive this home in regards to, what is this moral thing in regards to how they're responding to it, and how should we respond to it? Driverless cars. Let's take a second look at Elon Musk, and he's the one that's concerned about it, but yet how is he going to find morals? I mean, I'm sure he's a good man, but how is he going to find morals in regards to that? And what did God say about this day after the break? Driverless cars, the next 5 years, Ford's talking about. They're already having driverless cars right now, and Mobileye's doing it. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is talking about it. They're meeting on it. They're concerned about artificial intelligence taking over. They're wanting to go to Mars to escape from what they believe is going to happen in 40 years. If you miss this program, you got to catch it all. But you think about it, their biggest concern right now, Elon Musk and some others are coming together to talk about 20 specific things, I believe, but about morals. The first thing they're going to talk about.
First thing is morals.
Is artificial intelligence, all this information that's thinking for us. But look what the Burning Man, what Elon Musk said about the Burning Man, because the Burning Man is where they go out into the wilderness to be able to
In the desert,
worship,
it's a wild,
so
wild
in Silicon
event.
Valley is what you identify who has all this data and all this information, the artificial intelligence. And he says Burning Man is Silicon Valley. They're like one and the same. And so that's called idol worship, by the way, in case you don't know that. And God is a very jealous God. And so it's not, and without God, there are no morals. There's just man's idea of what's right and what's wrong. And so you're looking at this, and all this knowledge is coming together, and they're realizing we're going to need some morals here. It's a perfect time to pray for those who are in this place, because they're really searching for God in this, because they'll find that with God. But all this information happening, you can't run from it. It's happening. As a matter of fact, it was prophesied about to Daniel, and Daniel wrote about it in the book of Daniel. It says when he told him what it's going to be like in these end days, in Daniel 12:4, chapter 12, verse 4, he told him about it. Then he told Daniel to close up these books, shut up the books, and seal these books until the end, until the time of the end. Many shall run back and forth to and fro. They're like anxious about it, and knowledge shall increase. And it's happening so dramatically that it's time to really seek wisdom in this. And God said very specifically in the book of Revelation, he says that this time requires wisdom, which means not knowledge, but wisdom is the proper application of the knowledge that you have. It's better to know two things and be wise to know everything and not be wise. They say that you promote a foolish prince into the palace and it's chaos.
Not a good thing.
But a loyal servant who employee, he'll run the kingdom and it'll work. And so wisdom is what we need. God says, if you ask for wisdom, he will give you wisdom. Thank you for watching VFN TV. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. A lot of people want to abide with the Lord, but they just don't have a plan to do it. You can request that plan today at iabide.org. Don't forget you can join us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download our app and sign up for our newsletter, The Torch, at vfntv.com.